just seeing pictures of Liverpool and their goal-scoring exploits from last night. Cody Gakpo on the score sheet twice. Harvey Elliott with his long-range shot that was tucked in by Gakpo. One of 6 they got last evening. They managed 19 shots on Manchester City's goal in the last game, which was the most Manchester City had conceded on their goal in over a decade. So, how confident are you?
Not very.
That's why you're not coming. We got there in the end, Martin. We know the reason. No, listen, this is a big game, isn't it, for both? How will Erik ten Hag approach it?
Well, it's fascinating because when we were doing the All Access podcast yesterday, you suggested that maybe Erik ten Hag couldn't play the sort of counter-attacking football in this game at home against the arch rivals. I think that's exactly what he'll try and do. I think it's the only way that he knows how with this group of Manchester United players. So it'll be a low block, trying to use the pace of the likes of Rashford and Garnacho to exploit any weaknesses in the Liverpool defence. But they just give away too many chances.
I think what I said to you in the Premier League All Access podcast was that the fans wouldn't want them to play that way at home in a game like this.
I think that's true. But the one thing you know about Erik ten Hag is that he's fairly thick-skinned. He won't worry about what the fans want. He'll just try and come up with a game plan that he thinks will get United into the semi-finals. But looking at the way that they afforded Everton opportunities last weekend, if they do that against Liverpool, this could be a messy scoreline. Having said that, I felt the same when I went up for the league game at the start of last season, and they probably produced one of the best performances of Ten Hag's tenure, and they won the game.
Liverpool much better this season, though.
What do you think? To be negative
and
sort of use your sort of style of journalism, do you think Ten Hag would survive this if they got a beating from Liverpool in this one?
I think he's there until the end of the season, whatever happens. But I think Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Dave Brailsford will already be passing judgment. I think it's more about performances and about the data than maybe it is about results. There's no disgrace in losing to this Liverpool team, but I think there's a way to lose, and I think they'd like to see probably a more positive performance from Manchester United, a more dominant performance.
I spoke to some Manchester United fans, friends of mine, and they were saying that the atmosphere was really toxic against Everton, as bad as they've ever known it. Really, really poor. They couldn't believe they won the game. They had 23 shots on goal, Everton. Just as well, they're not very good in front of goal. Otherwise, they'd have run away and won that game quite easily. But then you listen to the manager, and it doesn't reflect what was happening on the pitch.
Well, that's something
so it's almost as if he can't see what's happening on the.
It's something that we've been talking about on the Premier League All Access podcast, isn't it? The fact that what he tells you and what you see seem to be two different things, and I wonder whether or not that's alienating the support.
Yeah, a little bit. And I think that the big problem is even when they do win games, and 2-0 at home to Everton on the face of it is a decent result, particularly on the back of the Manchester derby, but they're not playing well. And I can't think of any game this season where they've dominated the ball and where they've been the dictating force in the match. So I think when you're Manchester United, that's a big problem.
Oh, for sure. With the history that goes with that football club. But a win is a win, isn't it?
Oh,
but
absolutely.
And is the pressure off them going into this one?
No, I don't think so, because their season comes down to this. They're not going to qualify for the Champions League, even with that fifth place that we think they're going to get. No, they're not going to qualify for the Champions League.
They could. You don't think they can finish fifth? 2 weeks ago, you were telling me that they were going to be finishing fourth.
They won't finish above Villa and Spurs now.
The manager told us they were going to finish fourth.
They've given themselves too much to do. So it's all about trying to win a cup. But the big problem is, even if they beat Liverpool...
So is their season over if they lose on Sunday?
Yeah, effectively. Because they're going to do enough, I think, for a Europa League place. But it all comes down to the FA Cup.
I think it's imperative that they get something, that they win this game against Liverpool to keep their season alive. Because I think the noise from between now and the end of the season will be enormous against the manager.
What about Liverpool, though? Because this is a team that has had to be patched up over the course of the last month or so. And during that time, they've got themselves into the quarterfinals of both the FA Cup and the Europa League. They're just a little shade off top spot in the Premier League.
Already won the League Cup.
And they've already put the League Cup in the bag. So... how
momentum,
impressed have you been with them, especially bearing in mind that some of those bigger players are coming back now?
We talked about the front three, didn't we?
They could have had 12 last night goals.
Salah now looking if he's back fit again. There was an issue with his hamstring. The way that they've recreated their midfield, obviously they lost Milner and Henderson, and Endo now coming in to that midfield. Conor Bradley at right back. It's just a fantastic story, and they seem inspired. And it's like they're in the moment because they know they won't get another one with this manager. Unless he decides to reverse his decision to retire and stand down. And what story would that be at the end of the season? Maybe they will if he wins, as many trophies as he can between now and the end of the season. But they're inspired, and they play wonderful football. I think that Salah now is at the top of his game. His numbers are just ridiculous. He just keeps putting the ball in the back of the net. So they're going to take some stopping, no doubt.
He's not filled me with confidence.
I was going to say, you want to change your mind? Talking of changing your mind, you want to change your mind? I've still got one there, little waiting for you. Do you want to come up? Come on.
No, I think I'll watch it from behind the sofa. It's a safer vantage point.
Other quarterfinals this weekend live on TalkSPORT. We've got Wolves against Coventry 12:15, and on Saturday night Manchester City against Newcastle. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be a big one for Eddie Howe as well. Telling us earlier on that Anthony Gordon may well be in contention to play in that game. What's your prediction for that match, Martin?
For which game, sorry?
Manchester City against Newcastle.
Well, Man City will win that. There's no doubt. They're just purring, aren't they, going through the gears? I think that's not a problem.
No doubt.
But this is the time of year where they turn up and they play their stuff.
Knocked out the Carabao Cup by Newcastle earlier in the season.
It won't happen again. That hurts there.
Scored a last-minute goal up at St James's Park.
Pep will see that as a scalp, an important scalp for this group to get a win. I think Newcastle, they looked a little bit tired in midweek. The scoreline flattered them against Chelsea. Chelsea were by far the better team that day. I was really surprised at Newcastle, the way that they didn't compete around the pitch. Maybe he'll kind of get them going again, Eddie. He needs to. But I think Man City too good.
The beauty about this weekend, if you're Pep Guardiola or you're Jurgen Klopp, you can afford to pick your best team because it's right before the international break.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that Leicester will be doing that when they take on Chelsea on Sunday lunchtime. And Manchester United will certainly do that against Liverpool as well. All those games are live on TalkSPORT.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.